Tonight, an expensive mess. On a site for new homes, tons of fly-tipped rubbish. Now, council taxpayers could be left with a clean-up bill of more than £300,000.
Just a pile of rubbish, as far as the eye can see from this end.
Also tonight, another inflation-busting fare rise for tube and rail passengers. Plus,
I'm going to report the problem. I'm going to say there's a problem with the seat. Obviously, it's missing.
They are increasingly popular, but how safe are the city's line bikes? And
here's a quiz question for you. If you're born within the sound of this bell bow, there it is, what does that make you? You won't Adam and Eve it. Well, you will, but anyway.
good evening. With the unwelcome title of fly-tipping capital of England, you don't have to go far in London to find an unsightly mound of illegally dumped waste. And for residents in a part of North London, things are particularly bad. A patch of land in Harrow, which should be developed for housing, is instead home to tons of rotting rubbish. We spoke to one woman who can see the tip from her bedroom. From sofas and mattresses to old pots of paint, she just wants it gone. Like so many in the borough, she'll have to pay for the clean-up through her recently increased council tax. And as for who's to blame, well, the political infighting has begun. Here's our political correspondent, Simon Harris.
It's fly tipping on an industrial scale, and it's dumped a huge bill on council taxpayers. For more than a year, the rat-infested pile of rubbish at Harrow in North London has been growing. When Anne and Dave open their bedroom curtains, it's the first thing they see.
Just a pile of rubbish, as far as the eye can see from this end, because it's all down at this end. And so we're just waiting, can't wait for the trees to come into leaf, which disguises it somewhat.
It's just one huge heap of dumped rubbish over there. And how it gets in there, I don't know, because they must have had trucks and trucks and trucks coming in there. And it must happen overnight or something.
The illegal tip is on the site of a former driving school. The land is owned by Harrow Council and earmarked for new homes. Harrow Council blames the fly tipping on criminals. But the authority's political opponents and some people living nearby say more should have been done to stop it. The gates to the site now boast heavy-duty locks and concrete barriers.
If they'd had acted when I first mentioned it, a few years ago, they could have sorted it. And they've done nothing. They could have put the concrete blocks there from day one.
At a meeting last week, Labour challenged the Conservative Council about the cost of the clean-up, more than £250,000.
Tonight, you're about to increase council tax by 4.99%. Of that increase, the first £348,000 raised will, in the coming weeks, go towards clearing an absolute dump of a site.
Why has it been allowed to happen?
I think there's a limit you can do to secure a site. If someone is using industrial tools and organised criminals trying to break in, we try to secure it. We have secured it for a number of years, but unfortunately this time they got through.
Who's to blame for this?
Well, look, the council are owners of the site. They should be maintaining the site, and it's sheer fact of the council just not enforcing.
Harrow Council has asked the police to use CCTV cameras to try to identify the fly tippers, but it's thought some use stolen vans and trucks. It's likely to be a few weeks before the site is cleared, and the cost could go up if hazardous or toxic waste is found. Simon Harris, ITV News, Harrow.
Next tonight, anyone who relies on trains or tubes to get around will be feeling worse off after fares jumped higher than the rate of inflation at 4.6%. Gone are the days when the Mayor could afford to freeze the cost of tickets, leaving London with one of the world's most expensive transport networks. Price rises are nothing new, and the annual hike comes with the promise of better services, but for many, it is going to add to the squeeze. Here's Cafe Patter.
As the winter clouds fade, so too does TfL's fare freeze. And with it, the news that tube and train prices are set to increase.
So first of all, I didn't know that it's going to increase, so that's a surprise for me. There's no enough communication, that's one thing. And the next thing is like everything is going up, not the salary. There you go, that's it.
Well, the service doesn't run smoothly anyway, so not great that the prices are going up. And also the general cost of living, I think everyone's going to be pretty upset about it.
Prices for the tube and trains will now increase by 4.6%. But what does that mean for customers? A single journey on Zone 1 lines will now rise by 10 pence. Within Zone 1 to 4, prices will increase by 20 pence. And for train journeys, such as Woking to London, £187 more for your ticket. Why are fares going up is the question commuters here have been asking us. Well, it all has something to do with TfL's finances. They're a mess and they need more money. The governments have said that in order to qualify for some £500 million worth of funding, they need to raise tube and train fares to match inflation. The current rate of inflation is 3%. TfL's fare increase, however, tops it by 1.6%. It's a gap which hasn't gone unnoticed by the Tories in City Hall.
Well, unfortunately, it is a fact of life that things go up. Inflation is a fact of life. But last time I looked, inflation was around 3%, and this is 4.6%. So that's not good.
Every cloud a silver lining, and the one in this case, perhaps, according to the Mayor of London, is that bus fares will not be increasing.
We've frozen bus fares and trams. We know the poorest Londoners use buses and trams, but also we're increasing bus scopage in outer London where there's less tube stations. So we want to encourage more Londoners to use public transport. By freezing bus fares, by freezing tram fares, we can encourage more people to use buses and trams.
So, bus and tram prices stay the same, but tube and trains go up. The hope for commuters here at Farringdon is that TfL service will do the same. Kath Opata, ITV News.
A man appeared in court today charged with murder after a fatal attack in Lewisham at the weekend. The 63-year-old victim was named as Charlie Pramoju. Paul Tallant from Eltham was remanded in custody and will appear at the Old Bailey on Wednesday. 3 teenage girls appeared in court today charged with manslaughter following the death of a 75-year-old man. The man named as Freddie Rivero was attacked on Seven Sisters Road on Thursday. And a campaign was started today to make chewing gum more environmentally friendly. Councils in London currently spend £10 million a year removing gum from the streets. Most pieces contain plastic which can't be reused. Billions of pounds generated from the sale of Chelsea Football Club still haven't been spent on humanitarian aid in Ukraine. Roman Abramovich sold the club 3 years ago after being sanctioned by the UK government. But a legal advisor claimed the cash was still languishing in a bank account. Anton Allen is at Stamford Bridge for us now. Anton, this all stems from Russia's invasion of Ukraine then?
Yes, that's correct, Duncan. And now former Chelsea owner Roman Abramovich was sanctioned by the UK government, as you said, due to his links to Russia after they invaded Ukraine. Now, Abramovich, during his time in the country, had success and trophies here at Stamford Bridge, but he had to sell Chelsea. Now, 3 years ago, he raised £2.5 billion, and those proceeds have remained unused, despite them being promised to the people in Ukraine. Our human rights charity Redress has been tracking the money that they say should be used for compensation to the civilians who've been affected by the conflict. They told me more about why the money is being unused.
Now, we understand that there's a wrangling at the moment between different bodies involved in the creation of that fund as to whether that money should be spent inside Ukraine or for the benefit of survivors in the war outside of Ukraine. But the government made an express commitment 3 years ago that it would go to survivors in Ukraine.
Now, in a statement, the government have said the proceeds are currently frozen in the UK bank account while a new independent foundation is established to manage and distribute the money. UK officials continue to hold discussions with Mr Abramovich's representatives, experts and international partners, and we double down on our efforts to reach a resolution. But neither ITV News nor the human rights charity Regis have been told a time frame as to when the Ukrainian people can expect to benefit from that £2.5 billion from the sale of Chelsea Football Club.
Anton Allen at Stamford Bridge, thank you. Still to come on the programme.
And the Oscar goes to...
A London win at the Oscars and its creative origin in an East End cafe. and the World Cup England performance you may have missed. But first, serious safety concerns have been uncovered about a type of transport soaring in popularity. You don't have to go far in London before seeing a Lime bike, but an investigation found faults including missing pedals and defective brakes. There was even evidence to suggest some bikes needing repair weren't taken off the road straight away. Lime said safety was its top priority and bikes were regularly maintained. But as Rags Martel reports, some bikes may need closer inspection.
They're now part of London life. To many, Lime bikes have become an essential way to get around. But once you've rented one, how do you know what condition it's in? And more importantly, is it safe? We caught up with journalist Jim Waterson, who's just done an investigation on Lime bike safety.
What we found was we hired 50 Lime bikes across a stretch of inner London, and we wanted to check whether they were safe to ride and whether there were any mechanical faults with them. What we found was about 1 in 10 of them had something so serious that they should be taken off the road pretty quickly. Some of them had minor faults, some of them were still rideable, but there were things like missing handlebars, missing seats, and most worryingly of all, because you couldn't necessarily notice it, brakes that were considered unsafe by a qualified mechanic. This is lacking a seat. Obviously that's very, very dangerous to ride without it, but Lime have just let us hire it. If you report a problem with a Lime bike, such as a missing seat or something like that, they won't take it out of action. They'll leave it for other people to hire because they think that there might be too many false reports. So their policy is essentially, unless it's an issue with the brakes, we'll leave that bike on the road and check it out later. So there's bikes that we reported with serious safety issues that they have just left available for other people to pay to pick up.
I love them, they're convenient, they're easy, but not that safe.
Sometimes they're not in the best nick. Maybe the pedal doesn't turn as well. Sometimes the bells don't work as well.
I think they're very safe.
Really?
Yeah.
You never have any issues with them?
No.
Second thing, the brakes, not too bad.
James Holloway is a bike mechanic who took part in the investigation.
What's your advice to people renting bikes? Check it over, check the tyres are inflated, check the brakes are working when you initially ride it, check the saddle isn't wobbling about or about to drop off. If it's not, there's plenty of bikes out there in the wild. Drop it off, hire a new one, and file a report with Lime. That's the most important thing. If they don't hear from you, they're not going to know.
In a statement, a Lime bike spokesperson told us the vehicle will be marked for inspection and removed from service if multiple recent reports are received. Our industry-leading approach to safety has resulted in 99.99% of trips ending without a reported incident. But for that remaining 0.01% of riders, they might have safety issues they didn't sign up for. Rags Martel, ITV News.
A corner of East London was thrust into the international spotlight last night after getting name-checked at the Oscars. Composer Daniel Blumberg picked up the award for Best Original Score for The Brutalist. If you've seen it, you'll know the soundtrack plays a big role in the film. And Blumberg owes a large part of his musical inspiration to Cafe Otto in Dalston, where he writes much of his material alongside other artists. Helen Keenan reports.
The Oscar goes to The Brutalist, Daniel Blumberg.
An Oscar-winning epic and the soundtrack dreamt up in a tiny corner of East London.
The sounds you hear on The Brutalist are made by a group of hard-working, radical musicians who've been making uncompromising music for many years. And my friends at Cafe Otto.
An independent venue in Dalston that showcases music outside of the mainstream, and where many of the musicians that worked on the award-winning film found each other.
Tell me a little bit about your role in The Brutalist then.
Yeah, there's a couple of different ways I was involved sort of early on with capturing some of the very first piano sounds here at Cafe Otto. That would have been during lockdown. We were sort of making music for a trailer for the film that ended up actually being a large part of the score. He just sent me a text with a picture of the Oscar. Obviously, I'm very, very proud of him for winning it. Yeah, it's funny. It's a sort of, gentle humour.
Tell me, why is an accomplished foreign architect shoveling coal here in Philadelphia?
and left for it.
It's a fictional drama starring Adrian Brody, playing an architect escaping post-war Europe. If you've seen it, you'll know the soundtrack plays a big role in the film.
Why is it important to keep venues going like this in London?
Just look at what Daniel's been able to achieve with this soundtrack and the people he's been able to bring together. This is a space that's kind of just fostered all that.
I had yesterday.
Daniel performs at Cafe Otto, and he has previously won an Ivor Novello Award for the feature film The World to Come.
Did you think he was going to win the Oscar?
Absolutely. I kind of had a feeling he would. But the funniest thing is just we're just going to be in his flat, like having a coffee and making music again.
A soundtrack that started out in Dalston and became a global success. Helen Keenan, ITV News.
After a busy FA Cup weekend, let's take a look at the sport now.
Zero Accounting Software sponsors ITV Regional Sports Report.
Crystal Palace made it through to the quarter-finals of the FA Cup, winning 3-1 against Millwall at Selhurst Park on Saturday. But the attention wasn't on their win, but rather Millwall's red card. Goalkeeper Liam Roberts was sent off for a dangerous challenge on Crystal Palace's Jean-Philippe Mateta. The striker was stretchered off after receiving a high boot to the head in the 6th minute of the match. He was taken to hospital and later discharged with 25 stitches in his ear. Millwall's Roberts is now facing a 3-game ban. Palace's quarter-final cup opponents will be Fulham, who secured their spot by beating Manchester United at Old Trafford on penalties last night.
And it's saved by Leno, and Fulham are into the last stage of the FA Cup.
Goalkeeper Bernd Leno was the hero with 2 saves in the penalty shootout, giving the Cottagers a 4-3 win. Fulham will now host Crystal Palace in a London derby on Saturday, the 29th of March. A footballer who'd never played the game until last year has returned home to Dartford after helping England get to the knockout stages of an international competition. Sarah Haskins played for her country in the first ever Women's Amputee World Cup. While she was thrilled to get involved, she warned a lack of funding could make future trips difficult. Joe Cashin reports.
Until last summer, Sarah Haskins had never played football, or much sport in fact, because of her limb differences. Now she's represented England at the Women's Amputee World Cup, something her younger self would never have believed was possible.
And the advances in prosthetics weren't there as well. So I had, really basic kind of prosthetics that, if I'm completely honest, weren't particularly robust for what I was doing. I used to break my legs all the time. So I think sort of as a defence mechanism, I sort of thought, well, it's fine, it's not for me. Until this came about, and at age 42, I thought, this is the perfect time to start playing a sport, obviously. Literally not step foot on a football pitch on crutches prior to June.
And 5 months later, you were representing England at a World Cup.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
It is incredible. And I don't think it really hit home until I stood out on the pitch on that first match and sang the national anthem.
No prosthetics are allowed in amputee football. All outfield players are single-leg amputees, while the goalkeeper has to have an upper limb difference. While the tournament was a step in the right direction, Sarah believes there's much more to be done to support amputee sport. When she wasn't working as the head of blood transfusion at Darren Valley Hospital, Sarah and the team had to fundraise almost £50,000 just to get to Colombia to compete.
In the longer term, potentially for there to be that longevity for it, and that we're not having to rely on fundraising and, charitable donations, and that this is a programme the same as any other that people can, be involved in the future for years to come. So, and it's quite special to kind of think that I'm playing a part in the legacy of that as well.
What do your kids think?
So my eldest son is really into football, but he did say to me that it's not proper England. Which I was a little bit sad about.
So Mummy's been to a World Cup.
Yeah, he did.
Is what he could say.
They're a tough audience, I'm not going to lie. I thought they'd be more impressed than they actually are.
but we're certainly impressed. Having an England footballer looking after your bloods is pretty cool, but being able to say you've played at a World Cup, well, that's brilliant. Joe Coshin, ITV News, Dartford.
Sally's here with me now. Hello, Sally. You've got some new bling there, haven't you?
Oh, yes, look
I
at this.
can see it.
So this, I don't know if everyone can see it, this is a button given to me by a very special gentleman, my new friend, Pearly King John Walters. So, you know that they wear buttons all over their suits?
Yeah, lots of them.
Yeah, and he gave this to me because it's a very special day. Do you know
Did
what
you
it
earn
is?
it, though?
No, obviously. It's the third of a third. Can you say that?
You know, many years ago when we trained together,
Stop saying it. Yeah.
I got in trouble back then for not saying that properly, for saying third of the third.
Oh, what? So you actually said it?
Didn't used to make THs properly.
Oh, Duncan.
It got trained out of me.
Oh, that's brutal.
So today I can say it's the third of the third.
Oh, you can be you. You can
Thank
be
you,
your
for one day
authentic
only.
self for one day, then tomorrow you get it right. Well, it's the third of a third. Sorry, I sound so awful when I say that. Which basically means it's the start of the Cockney Festival here in
Yay.
London. So I went along to find out what is a Cockney today and to meet some of the organisers and what they're trying to do this year to get everyone up and ready with their rhyming slang. Let's take a look. Let me take you by the hand, I'll lead you through the streets of London. I'll show you something to make you change your mind.
We're booked. We've got a double act going here.
If anyone knows anything about the streets of London, it's a Pearly King with his nice cup of Rosie Lee tea.
How do you say cheers in Cockney rhyming slang?
Cheers.
That was a good, easy one to start
we
with.
could say it, round the tonsils, round the gums, look at stomach, here it comes.
On Brick Lane today, John Walters shared the trials and tribulations with me of being bilingual in rhyming slang.
You've got a nice Hampsteads.
Hampstead?
Hampstead Heath.
Oh, I'm still not there. Oh, teeth! Is it now Tuesday? That took so long.
Clearly I'm not one, but in 2025, who is a Cockney?
Well, to my mind, a Cockney can be from anywhere in the world, but it's a Londoner, and essentially it's a non-posh Londoner. I don't think you can talk like that and call yourself a Cockney.
You've got Mockneys, Poshneys, New Age Cockneys, code-switching Cockneys.
Organisers of the Cockney Festival say the culture isn't fading but evolving, and they want businesses to sign up to the Cockney Manifesto.
To put Cockney and working class heritage into their organisational culture and identity as well.
Do you remember oranges and lemons? Oranges and lemons. Well, at the top of this tower, through this tiny little door, we get the Great Bell of Bow. Let's go and have a look.
To be a true Cockney, you're meant to be born within the sound of Bow bells.
And this is officially the Great Bell of Bow. Hit it.
But due to all the skyscrapers, that's getting harder.
Now you get to about Bank or St Paul's and you start to lose it. So yeah, it has really shrunk a little bit. If you're going in an ambulance past the church and you get born then, yeah, you could almost certainly say you are.
If I said to you, let's go down the old, let's go down the battle cruise and I'll get you a Vera.
Meanwhile, in Brick Lane, someone was a slow learner.
And I'll get you a Vera Lynn.
Gin! Come on, Sal, catch up!
Hopeless, but at least we had a bit of a bubble bath.
Oh, the delays there.
So cringe, isn't it?
Have you got any Cockney rhyming slang for weather terms then?
Oh, yes. Cold is taters. It's so unintuitive,
I remember
this
that from Only
language.
Fools and Horses.
Do you?
Yeah, taters.
Oh, did they
Del
say
used
that?
to say it.
Oh, I missed that one. Taters in the mould. Cold, sorry, you'd worked that one out. Took me a while. And then sun, because we've got so much sun at the moment.
Currant bun.
Yes, well done, Duncan.
What a pair.
Oh, I think you were born in the wrong place. You should have been born in the
Thank
sound
you
of Bell
very
Bow.
much.
Get yourself in an ambulance, pop yourself out. There you go. That's how you
Those
do it.
towels getting in the way, as you
Well,
said.
I know, that is the trouble. But anyway, the weather's lovely. Enjoy.
ITV London weekday weather is sponsored by Octopus, the renewable energy company.
Hello again. I hope you've had a lovely start to the week. We've had some great photos. Look at that, not one blue tit, but two. They look like neighbours in the same tree. I love it. And also a beautiful start from Sue this morning. Absolutely gorgeous. It's lovely, dear. Thank you, Sue. You are clever. Right, our weather this week. Dry and sunny for the next few days. Some chilly start. And then we've got a milder end to the week, which you'll be pleased to hear, I'm sure, if you are sick of the chilly stuff. Let's see what's going on. We've got high pressure over us, so that is keeping things nice and settled. As we go towards the end of the working week, we start to draw in that more southerly air, just lifting those temperatures a bit. Bad news is we might get a few showers later on Thursday into Friday, but still a few days off. Hopefully nothing to spoil things too much. We'll let you know. As for the rest of this evening, well, very much like last night, a lot of clear skies and that frozen scene sets in. So we're looking at a widespread frost tomorrow morning. Temperatures coming right down below freezing. Ooh, look at that, -3, -4 maybe. So it's going to be a chilly start tomorrow morning. There could, as well as frost, be some pockets of fog once again. But as tomorrow gets going and as that fog gets back in its box, we've got a beautiful day for you. Some gorgeous sunshine. Sunrise is at 6:36. It's getting better. And we've got light winds, dry weather, and really a rather nice day. Highs of 9 to 13 degrees. It's just creeping up a tiny bit tomorrow. Still coat weather, but not too bad. And then into the evening, if you're heading out, nice and dry. Once again, those temperatures are going to fall away. Another frosty night to come, but things are going to improve by day and by night as the week goes on, certainly in terms of temperatures. Cheerio.
Octopus Energy sponsors ITV London weekday weather.
Thank you, Sally. Now, if our mention earlier of the Oscars got you in the mood for more of the glamour of Hollywood's big night, there are more on ITV1 tonight. It was a night full of surprises, like the moment Adrian Brody had to quickly get rid of his chewing gum on the way to collect the way for Best Actor. Quite the catch by his girlfriend, Georgina Chapman. And you can catch up on all the highlights from the 97th Academy Awards on ITV1 at 10:45 tonight after our late bulletin and, of course, on ITVX. Next, though, it's the evening news with Charlene. Have a lovely evening. Bye-bye.